You get to see me be scuffy again. But is it a stream without scuff? Welcome one and all. Welcome one and all. Hope everyone is doing amazingly. My name is Vesper Fortune, Bat of Fortune, and I welcome you to this sacred void. And I hope I can change your fate tonight. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. I have to make my stream announcement on my Twitter. Fortunately though, I don't have to use my phone tonight to manage stream because I'm just going to be reading and I can do that with OBS up. Let's go. But I hope everyone's doing well. I had a nice day. But, oh my god, I cannot multitask. I cannot multitask, like I'm trying to type, but it's also like, where's my brain gone? What improv things can I say? Oh no. But we are reading tonight. It's been a while since we, just straight up read a book. The visual novels we have been reading are, I think, in my idea, they count, but, not in the same way. But now we are reading The Island of Dr. Moreau. And, I actually don't know much about The Island of Dr. Moreau. But, well, I guess I'm gonna learn. But I know it is public domain, so I will not get in trouble with it. I cannot get in trouble with it. So that's what we'll be doing today. A little bit of a housekeeping. We may be returning to using the noise filter on my microphone now, because like I previously said in my co-open stream, apparently people just can't hold on anymore. and it's causing me more trouble, because if I don't use a noise filter, I'm just going to end up with more work on my end. So for most nights where I can't slip to OBS easily, it will probably be a day or a night I should say, where I'm using a noise filter. I won't use it every night. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of nights, but not all nights. Hopefully, since I'm kinda in the position I want for streaming and stuff, it won't be most nights. I'm not gonna do it right away. I'm just going to see about it. We're gonna see how quickly I can adapt to switching to OBS to mute my mic easier. And welcome, whatever. Welcome. You just caught me at the beginning of stream. We are reading The Island of Dr. Moreau tonight, which I actually need to go find right now. Let's see here. Project Gutenberg. So, Gutenberg, no. Don't send me to this book, even though I need to read it. We're going to go to... So, the most I know about this book is that it's a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of horror, a little bit of everything. Ooh, what is this? I think I'll read that later. But, Island of Dr. Moreau. By H.G. Wells. Okay, so this is moderately famous. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, it seems to be mostly sci-fi. I was trying to actually find a book about, the moon and the stars and stuff. But, what I mostly got was mythology, which is fine, but I don't want to read mythology. The old style of sci-fi, yeah. We're going to be getting, we're going to be laughing at this, I feel like, a little. We're going to riff on this a little. Remember the Jetsons? Remember that? Static? No. Realize how the Jetsons was a form of, like, a sci-fi that ended up turning into a whole aesthetic. That, 50s in the future kind of deal. It's like Tomorrowland and Disney World. Exactly. Exactly. But I honestly would prefer... I would prefer the Jetsons aesthetics to whatever we're heading towards. Like, honestly, give me a nice 50s fridge or something. Give me that. Give me them 50s kitchens. The 50s was like the kitchen aesthetics. Or like diners, like the checkerboard. The checkerboard floors. The leather booths. The bright red kitchenware or pastels. I don't care about chrome. I don't care about stainless steel. Give me bright pink kitchens. Give me bright purple kitchens. Give me a refrigerator with a like a Fantasia Galaxy skin. Like, I know my aesthetics. They're extra. They're like, I enjoy the idea of a stainless steel kitchen. I just it's not for me. Let me go back to the 50s, man, in terms of aesthetics. Not anything else, just aesthetics. We don't talk about the people who want to go back to the 50s in other ways. You want one of those new auto kitchens? I'm very much a kitchen is the heart of the home person. I enjoy cooking. It's just that the mess of cooking I don't enjoy as much. If I can deal with it, I don't think I could deal with an automated kitchen. Oh, it prepares the food while you're out. Okay, yeah, I could understand that. I don't think I would enjoy it if it was a machine cooking all the time. But I get it if it's something like, if you can put it in and it just does what you need it to do, and like you don't have to worry about certain days on certain meals on certain days. I don't think I could imagine doing it every single time though. But you forgot what it's called. It's no problem. Oh wait, I'm not gonna care about my viewers tonight. I'm just gonna care about you, viewers. Not the number. Just you guys here, lurking, watching, chatting or not chatting. I love all of you. Not in a parasocial way though. Please don't message me on Twitter. But no, actually, I enjoy streaming. I enjoy doing what I do. No one's ready for when I come back and I just dump all of my content. Just dump all of it. But I'm tempted to take the week after streaming off. Week after as well. But like not the week after, like the entire week I come back. Cause I, cause it might just help me if I just start doing everything the week after. I also don't want to do that. Cause that's seriously cutting into my streaming days. I'll look at, cause I do want to do some extra things while I'm waiting. Like I'm gonna have some stuff that I'm gonna put up as soon as I come back. So I can be like, I can like have like a new look. I consider it like my more serious content creation-y approach to streaming, my new look. Because as much as I enjoy my backgrounds and my my homemade little BRB screen and opening screen, I feel like it's kind of gonna clash with the panels. I feel like it's very all over the place, even though it's a beautiful galaxy-esque theme. I feel like I could do more to make it more in sync. Even though I love all this, I feel like now that I've been streaming with it for a bit, it's okay for me to go on to something else. Like, I feel like I got what I need out of it. And it's time for me to go on to something else, something better. Something probably more blue. I'll see how it looks. Because like I said, I do want to keep it mostly the same, because I really love my chat widget. That's like gonna stay. And I just really want to do a whole bunch of stuff when I get back. And not to mention, I'm like super excited for, I think I'm going to get a new commission of things, just so I'm ready for October. But I also don't want to like overextend myself in case I can't get anything. I don't want to talk about it, but I also do want to talk about it. So, like I said, I have plans for October. I just need to be careful in case I can't do them, which is understandable. Like October is also student loans, so I want to die a little inside. I want to die a little. Actually, I want to die a lot inside. I want to die a lot on the inside and out. I want to fake my own death. Just to get away from these things. Let's see here. So that's telling you that what I have planned. Like I said, I really want to do something like really awesome and special. Okay, so how many chapters do we got? Okay, we got 22. Okay. And okay. This looks to be very short. This looks like I could finish it in 2 sit-downs. Oh no, it gets longer as we go on. Okay. It gets longer and shorter. Okay. But, that's the plans for when I get back. I will stream on Thursday. But I will not be streaming. I'm not sure if I'll be streaming on Friday. It will depend. I will most likely not be. But I do want to be using most of this week to get on top of projects that I'm very far behind on. Very far behind on. Like making clips and making my just reads for TikTok, and I would like to start making my YouTube videos. I would love that, but it's going to be difficult as I don't want to use my current PNGs. I want to use more full bodies, and I'm going to pay people for that, and I don't think I want to use the same PNGs as I do for gaming, but I'm not like entirely sure yet. I'm going to contact Loaf. I have to professionally contact my artist, Loaf. It's always like kind of silly whenever I think about stuff like that. It's like oh, your professional artist is named Loaf. Yes, my VTuber mama is called Loaf. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear my Discordo. Actually, I'm not sure if you did hear that. But, let's see here. I'm just rambling at this point. I could be reading by now. I could be reading by now, but I'm not. But, let's see here. I'm just being silly and rambling on and on and on and on. I know, Discord is cute, but like I feel like some of the stuff gets more in the way than not. It's kind of like, why do you have an app activation noise? It's called a suvie. That's the thing I'm thinking of. You know, that kind of does sound like something you put in a kitchen, a suvie. It's a suvie. Do you have your suvie? Well, mine's kind of off-brand, but it works just as well as like them Samsung, those LG things, you know? As long as it's a suvie. I hope like it can turn itself off after finishing what it cooks. That would be like my main thing. Like imagine like being like, my suvie's on, but will it turn itself off? Imagine if like that's the new I left my oven on. I left my suvie on. Or I don't know if my suvie's turned off. I should go back. Or imagine like, that'd be kind of like a new comedic thing, especially if it gets popular enough. Like, imagine you run out and, like, you tell your suvie to be like, will you cook me a souffle, suvie? And, you know how fragile souffles are? Imagine if you come back and it's like at that worst point where anything will just, pop it. And it'll be like, you come in and you closing the door breaks the souffle, and it's like, hell, I broke my souffle. And your suvie just glares at you. Maybe one day we'll have like those food replicators like in Star Trek. As long as you can like save like different food recipes. Like, imagine you have something that's made by one way by one friend and another way by one friend, and they're like totally different recipes, but they're technically the same food, just that the outcomes are different. I hope you can like save different versions of the food. Though like I would also imagine like it's sucking on certain days, because there would probably be like patches, and like there'd just be people who lose entire recipes, and it's like, can you cook this for me again? My food replicator lost everything in the patch notes, in the patch. So like I imagine like food replicators would not entirely replace food, like just because, like, there's just so many ways to cook something. Like, we still aren't agreeing on what is the best ways to cook certain foods. Though, like, I haven't watched Star Trek, so I don't know how the food replicators work. But I'm assuming it'd be like something like that, where you would save a version of the food, and then, like, that would be replicated perfectly. It's awesome. I bet. I'm just imagining, like it turning, like, this, normal nutrient paste into something absolutely delicious. That also kind of brings up the idea of what the paste is, and that would be, like, horrible. It's like, oh, we have this nutrient paste. It's actually the microorganisms that make up the universe. Have fun knowing you're causing the universe to go extinct, or something. It's like, when something's perfect, you know it's something horrible is behind it. Well, at least that was, like, the first thing to come to mind, is having, like, the nutrient paste or whatever the food is being reshaped in from being, like, this horrible, this living creature, or used to be living creature, that is, like, needed for the balance of the universe, but we're, like, farming it, and that is upsetting the universe. But we're farming it because it just can be, like, twisted into food perfectly, unlike anything else. And we're just screwing up the universal ecosystem by doing that. That's fun, thinking of horrible things to screw up the universe with. Now that kind of brings up the question, what would eat these small tiny things making up the universe? Or how these small tiny things would have gone so long without being noticed in the great cosmic void. Oh no, I have to write sci-fi now. Perfect. Perfect. Oh well, at least I can write, like, a nice, like, little like a fictional essay, like doctory scientist essays on it. That'd be interesting. I could probably do that. Oh no. I'm writing sci-fi now. I always knew I write something for sci-fi, but it's just not one of my genres. Not like something I'm, like, particularly well versed in. Like, not modern sci-fi. Though I do enjoy modern sci-fi a little, but it's usually Eastern sci-fi, like mecha, and I do enjoy some Western, but it's usually Eastern or Eastern takes on Western stuff. Like, I forgot what it's called. It's called Blue Planet, or Planet Blue. It's an anime about aliens that have taken over the planet, and I think the aliens were actually born on Earth or something. I'd have to rewatch it, because I think the twist was that the aliens weren't aliens, but there's something that was born and bred on Earth. They were just construed by aliens, by the government, as, like, propaganda, as, like, misinformation, to keep the government and the scientists who made the aliens, quotation marks, safe. need to write sci-fi. You've been toying with the idea. I think the main thing with sci-fi is that, like, much like horror, it's one of those things that tends to carry a very heavy metaphor, and sometimes you have to be careful with what you're doing because you can accidentally send a message you don't mean to send. Or you have to be like, I do not support the message you're getting out of this, but I like the ideas that you are getting out of this. But I do not support. I'm not behind this because I wrote that accidentally. Because let's be real, some of us writers end up writing metaphors we do not intend because that's just how people see it and twist it. And that was like one of the most horrifying things, is that someone can get a message that you do not support or like, or can even like construe out of your writing, and they will use that to like support their own ideology. Famous case of that being Fahrenheit 451. Yup. Oh boy. That's poor Fahrenheit 451. Poor dystopia in general, honestly. Like, poor classic dystopia. The main thing I will give to modern dystopia is that you can't really misconstrue it as being as to support your own, to support fascism, because it's very anti-fascism to the core. But it seems like a lot of people are twisting like 1984, Fahrenheit 451, and other things into a fascist propaganda, and that's kind of sucks. Because dystopia was not written to be it wasn't written to be like that. It was written to be anti-capitalism, anti-fascism. Ray Bradbury said that he wrote because people were watching TV and stuff instead of reading. People were like, basically, you're wrong. It's about censorship. Oh, I thought you were talking about how Fahrenheit 451 was being used to ban books, but that's also true. Like that's also true. Like people like being like the author being one way, and the people being like, no, it's this. And here's the thing, like the authors can sometimes miss a totally obvious thing in their own books, like totally obvious messaging. Like in Birth of the Angels, I wrote it with openness, so I know however people take Joshua, or however people interpret Isaac, that's up to them, because I left it open. I meant for it to be open. Like, I didn't want anyone to be able to be like, this is exactly what Joshua is, or this is exactly what is happening to Isaac. So I totally get sometimes stuff being totally misconstrued, or being like, yeah, being totally misconstrued or being misused, because that's just sometimes what happens. But I do feel bad for most the OG dystopias, because a lot of them are being misused today to push propaganda that they were built to be against. But there are probably some dystopias that were written to be against democracy or something. There are probably ones that are being used to push the other direction. So there's a lot on both sides, really. I don't really want to talk about politics, but books are kind of political. Like, there's a lot of entertainment that ends up being political because it's just in the subtext or just outright text. And like I said, there's a lot of book banning going on. I was just like listening to Reads with Rachel about book banning and stuff, and it's just awful what's happening out there, especially in Florida. Though Florida is a hellhole in general, and we can thank a certain Satan for that. Wanda Satan. But I won't go into that too much now because I don't want to be political. I said I don't want to be political on stream. Just came up because books. 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 Okay. Let's see here. Minimize. Because I want to read this. So chat, do you think I should change to ASMR while reading? Or do you think I should stay just chatting? Because I think just chatting is going to help me more. So I'm just going to stay on just chatting plus and while I do put myself as 18 plus so I don't have to deal with minors and the drama that comes with letting minors into your community. I'm not sure I would feel like, because I think the ASMR thing automatically puts you into the 18 plus category. And like, I'm just reading a book. I don't want to be like, okay, so, we can blame certain AMS artists for doing that for us. I mean, I don't blame anyone who does ASMR sexually. Or like that very fan servicey ASMR. Get your bag, get your bag, get your bag. Get your Gucci, get your Chanel, get your Terry Mugler. But I feel like there's a lot of people who have ended up suffering because of the more upper age range ASMR. And like now it's I can go so hard into these topics right now, but I can't. It's like, do I really diss all of American purity culture on stream right now? Do I do it? But let's just turn down the music. Sorry, but as much as I love our in-house music, I feel like since we're reading The Island of Dr. Moreau, we have to meet the mood of that, and not my usual spacey witch nature mood. So, let me just put in a link so we can read. So everyone can follow along if they want. If you don't want to, you can just listen in. I know some people are just looking and and I swear English is my first language. I swear it. Looking. Lurk. There's an R in this word. Lurking and listening. I know some people are lurking and listening. And that's fine. You don't have to follow along. I know sometimes you don't watch the stream. Oh my god. No. I'm gonna delete that. No. Can I delete this? Oh no. Oh my god. Close. I hate that I cannot delete messages while in OBS. I can't delete messages while in OBS, I think. We're just going to ignore that. That was a mistype. What we are reading today, and we have the Project Gutenberg link, and gonna pin the message manually. Okay. Some nice mood music. We are listening to steampunk music compilation Clockwork Land's 1 hour mix. I'll probably restart around 1 hour-ish in, because it's an hour-long mix. I wanted to have a constant lo-fi thing going on, but no one has made a lo-fi clockwork thing mix yet. Wink. One of those 24-hour, 24/7 ongoing live things. Someone needs to get on that for, steampunk. But, okay, so my voice naturally sits there, so I'm gonna turn this up a little. But, hold on. Oh, I have to, let me just get a little more comfy for you, chat. Let's get comfy. Let's get comfy here with our book. Alright. Everyone ready to read? Alright, we now have The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Okay, this is going down because this is a lot. This music does not need to go so hard. This music does not need to be going this hard. Oh, I almost inhaled the mic. Hold up. Okay. Introduction. On February the 1st, 1887, the Lady Vane was lost by collision with a derelict. Hold on, this is some old speech. Hold on, this might screw me over. On February the 1st, 1887, the Lady Vane was lost by collision with a derelict when about the latitude 1 degree south and longitude 170 degrees west. On January the 5th, 1888, that is 11 months and 4 days after. Hold up. This music's going too hard for me. On January the 5th, 1888, that is 11 months and 4 days after my uncle, Edward Prendick, a private gentleman who certainly went aboard the Lady Vane at Calais, and who had been considered drowned, was picked up in latitude 5. This is what I hate about sci-fi. Was picked up in latitude 5 degrees 3 south and longitude 101 degrees west in an open boat of the same name, of which the name was illegible, but which is supposed to have belonged to the missing schooner oh no. in a small open boat of which the name was illegible, but which was supposed to have belonged to the missing schooner, a Patconwa. He gave such a strange account of himself that he was supposed demented. I'm hating myself. Subsequently, he alleged that his mind was a blank from the moment of his escape from the Lady Vane. His case was discussed among psychologists at the time as a curious instance of the lapse of memory consequent upon physical and mental stress. The following narrative was found among his papers by the undersigned, his nephew and heir, but unaccompanied by a definite request for publication. You're taking notes? Okay, okay. Are you taking notes on the book or in one of your own stories? The only island known to exist in the region in which my uncle was picked up is Noble's Isle, a small volcanic islet and uninhabited. It was visited in 1891 by HMS Scorpion. A party of sailors then landed but found nothing living thereon except certain curious white moths, some hogs and rabbits, and some rather peculiar rats. So this narrative is without confirmation its most essential peculiar. Oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. In its most essential particular. With that understood, there seems to be no harm in putting this strange story before the public in accordance, as I believe, with my uncle's intentions. There is at least this much in its old-ass writing, I swear. I love a lot of gothic writing and stuff, but sometimes this stuff is hard to read. There is at least this much in its behalf. My uncle passed out of human knowledge about latitude 5 degrees south and longitude 105 degrees east, and we appeared in the same part of the ocean after a space of 11 months. In some way, he must have lived during the interval, and it seems that a schooner called the Ipaconwa, with a drunken captain, John Davies, did start from Africa with puma and certain other animals aboard in January 1887. That the vessel was well known at several ports in the South Pacific, and that it finally disappeared from those seas, with a considerable amount of copra aboard, sailing to its unknown fate from Banya in December 1887, a date that tallies entirely within my uncle's story. Chat, this might hurt me a little. Charles Edward Prendick. Yeah, chat, this story might help me. So far, what we know is that our main character is going to be Edward Prendick, and he was probably on the island of Dr. Moreau, and he got off. So we're always spoiled to the ending. Please remember to get a snack or a drink. We're on to chapter 1, in the dinghy of the Lady Vane. So this is probably the tiny little ship he was on. Like the small open boat that came from the Ipaconwa. Oh no, what's this? Oh, okay. What's this? Is there footnotes that I'm not getting? You know what, it doesn't matter. In the dinghy of the Lady Vane. This music is going hard. I do not propose to add anything to what has already been written concerning the loss of the Lady Vane. As everyone knows, she collided with a derelict when 10 days out from Calais. The longboat, with 7 of the crew, was picked up 18 days after HM gunboat Myrtle, and the story of their terrible privations has become quite well known as the far more horrible Medusa case. But I have to add the published story of the Lady Vane, another. Hold on, right? But I have to add to the published story of the Lady Vane another, possibly as horrible and far stranger. It has hitherto been supposed that the 4 men who were in the dinghy perished, but this is incorrect. I have the best evidence for this assertion. I was one of the 4 men. But in the first place, I must state that there never were 4 men in the dinghy. The number was 3. Constance, who was seen by the captain to jump into the gig, luckily for us and unluckily for himself, did not reach us. He came down out of the tangle of ropes under the stays of the smashed bowsprit. Some small rope caught his heel as he let go, and he hung for a moment head downward, and then fell and struck a block or a spar floating in the water. We pulled towards him, but he never came up. I say luckily for us, he did not reach us. I might almost say luckily for himself. For we only had a small beaker of water and some salt and ship biscuits with us, so sudden had been the alarm, so unprepared the ship for any disaster. We thought the people on the launch would be better provisioned, though it seems they were not, and we tried to hail them. They could not have heard us, and the next morning when the drizzle cleared, which was not until past midday, we could see nothing of them. We could not stand up to look about us because of the pitching of the boat. The 2 other men who escaped so far with me were a man named Helmar, a passenger like myself, a seaman whose name I don't know, a short, sturdy man with a stammer. We finished famishing, and after our water had come to an end, tormented by an intolerable thirst for 8 days altogether. After the 2nd day, the sea subsided to a slow. After the 2nd day, the sea subsided to a. I keep screwing this up. Hold on. After the 2nd day, the sea subsided slowly to a glassy calm. Try saying that 5 times fast. It is quite impossible for the ordinary reader to imagine those 8 days. He has not, luckily for himself, anything in his memory to imagine with. After the 1st day, we said little to one another, and lay in our places in the boat, and stared at the horizon, or watched, with eyes that grew larger and more haggard every day, the misery and weakness gaining upon our companions. The sun became pitiless. The water ended on the 4th day, and we were already thinking strange things and saying them with our eyes. That was, I think, the sixth before Helmar gave voice to the thing we had all been thinking. I remember our voices were dry and thin, so that we bent towards one another and spared our words. I stood out against it with all my might. Was rather for sculling the boat and perishing together with the sharks that followed us. But when Helmar said that if his proposal was accepted, we should have drink, the sailor come round to him. I would not draw lots, however, and in the night the sailor whispered to Helmar again and again, and I sat in the bows with my clasp knife in hand, though I doubt if I had the stuff in me to fight, and in the morning I agreed to Helmar's proposal, and we handed a halfpence to the odd man. The lot fell upon the sailor, but he was the strongest of us and would not abide by it, and attacked Helmar with his hands. They grappled together and almost stood up. I crawled along the boat to them, intending to help Helmar by grasping the sailor's leg. But the sailor stumbled with the swaying of the boat. The two fell upon the gunwale and rolled overboard together. They sank like stones. I remember laughing at that and wondering why I laughed. The laugh caught me suddenly like a thing from without. I lay across one of the thwarts, for I know not how long, thinking that if I had the strength I would drink seawater and madden myself to die quickly. And even as I lay there I saw, with no more interest than if it had been a picture, a sail come up towards me over the skyline. My mind must have been wandering, and yet I remember all that happened quite distinctly. I remember how my head swayed with the seas and the horizon with the sail above it danced up and down. But I also remember as distinctly as I had a persuasion. Hold up, let me repeat that. But I also remember as distinctly that I had a persuasion that I was dead, and I thought what a jest it was that they should come too late, by such a little, to catch me in my body. For an endless period, as it seemed to me, I lay with my head on the thwart, watching the schooner. She was a little ship, schooner rigged fore and aft, come up out of the sea. She kept tacking to and fro in a widening compass, for she was sailing dead into the wind. It never entered my mind to attempt to attract attention. I do not remember anything distinctly after the sight of her side until I found myself in a little cabin aft. There's a dim half memory of being lifted up to the gangway, and a big round countenance covered with freckles, surrounded with red hair, staring at me over the bulwarks. I also had a disconnected impression of a dark face with extraordinary eyes, close to mine. But that I thought was a nightmare until I met it again. I fancy I recollect some stuff being poured in between my teeth, and that is all. So we only got a body count of 2 people, actually 3. And our poor protagonist, Edward, has already been taken in and saved. Though we don't know where that's gonna head. And who is sending me stuff? Of course. But we already got stuff happening. Not much stuff to comment on, mind you, but we're kind of already having some little foreshadowing that there was a dark face with extraordinary eyes. I'm not sure what they mean by dark. It could mean it was like mischievous or something. But I don't know, this could be racism. I mean, this was written in the 1800s. Like later end of the 1800s, but that's not gonna excuse it. So we might be having a little bit of racism, just a little. As you know, not a treat. So on chapter 2, the man who was going nowhere. On to chapter 2. I'm not gonna go heavy on like character voices because there's probably gonna be. I couldn't remember my character voices for Carmilla, and it's probably not gonna go much better for this one. Chapter 2, the man who was going nowhere. The cabin in which I found myself was small and rather untidy. A youngish man with flaxen hair, a bristly strawberry mustache, and dropping nether lip was sitting and holding my wrist. For a minute we stared at each other without speaking. He had watery gray eyes, oddly void of expression, and then just overhead came a sound like an iron bedstead being knocked about, and a low, angry growling of some large animal. At the same time the man spoke, he repeated his question. How do you feel now? I think I said I felt alright. I could not recollect how I got there. He must have seen the question in my face, for my voice was inaccessible to me. You were picked up in a boat, starving, The name on the boat was Lady Vane, and there were spots of blood on the gunwale. At the same time, my eye caught my hand so thin it looked like a dirty skin purse full of loose bones, and all the business of the boat came back to me. "Have some of this," said he, and gave me a dose of some scarlet stuff, ice. It tasted like blood and made me feel stronger. "You were in luck," said he, "to get picked up by a ship with a medical man on board." He spoke with a slobbering articulation, with the ghost of a lisp. "What ship is this?" I said slowly, hoarse from my long silence. "It's a little trader from Erica and Callow. I never asked where she came from in the beginning. Out of the land of born fools, I guess. I'm a passenger myself, from Erica. The silly ass who owns her, he's captain too, named Davies. He's lost his certificate or something, you know the kind of man. Calls the thing the Epeconwa of all silly infernal names. Though when there's much of a sea without any wind, she certainly acts according." Then the noise overhead began again, a snarling growl and the voice of a human being together. Then another voice, telling some heaven-forsaken idiot to desist. "You were nearly dead," said my interlocutor. Wow, that's a word. That's a $10 word. "It was a very near thing indeed. But I put some stuff into you now. Notice your arm's sore? Injections. You've been insensible for nearly 30 hours. I thought slowly. I was distracted now by the yelping of a number of dogs. "Am I eligible for solid food?" I asked. "Thanks to me," he said. "Even now the mutton is boiling." "Yes," I said with assurance, "I could eat some mutton." "But," he said with a momentary hesitation, "you know, I'm dying to hear how you came to be alone in that boat." Damn that howling! I thought I detected a certain suspicion in his eyes. He suddenly left the cabin. I heard him in violent controversy with someone who seemed to me to talk gibberish in response to him. The matter sounded as though it ended in blows, but in that I thought my ears were mistaken. Then he shouted at the dogs and returned to the cabin. "Well," he said in Dory, "you were beginning to tell me." I told him my name, Edward Prendick, and how I'd taken to natural history as a relief in the dullness of my comfortable independence. He seemed interested in this. I've done some science myself. I did my biology at University College, getting out the ovary of the earthworm and the radula of the snail and all that. Lord, it's 10 years ago, but go on. Tell me about the boat. He was evidently satisfied with the frankness of my story, which I told in concise sentences enough, for I felt horribly weak, and when it was finished he reverted at once to the topic of natural history in his own biological studies. He began to question me closely about Tottenham. Hold on, that's a whole place. He began to question me closely about Tottenham Court Road and Gower Street. Is Caplotzi still flourishing? What a shop that was. He had evidently been a very ordinary medical student and drifted incontinently to the topic of music halls. He told me some anecdotes. Left it all, he said. 10 years ago, how jolly it all used to be. But I made a young ass of myself, played myself out before I was 21. I dare say it's all different now. But I must look up that ass of a cook and see what he's done to your mutton. The growling overhead was renewed so soundly and with so much savage anger that it stalled me. "What's that?" I called after him, but the door had closed. He came back with the boiled mutton. and I was so excited by the appetizing smell of it I forgot the noise of the beast that had troubled me. After a day of alternate sleep and feeding, I was so far recovered as to be able to get from my bunk to the scuttle, and see the green seas trying to keep pace with us. I judged the schooner was running before the wind. Montgomery, that was the name of the flaxen-haired man, came in again as I stood there, and I asked him for some clothes. He lent me some duck things of his own, for those I had worn in the boat had been thrown overboard. They were rather loose for me, for he was large and long in the limbs. He told me casually that the captain was 3 parts drunk in his own cabin. As I assumed the clothes, I began asking him some questions about the destination of the ship. He said the ship was bound to Hawaii, but that had to land him first. Where? Said I. It's an island where I live. So far as I know, it hasn't got a name. He stared at me with his nether lip dropping. It looked so willfully stupid all of a sudden that it came into my head that he desired to avoid my questions. I had the discretion to ask no more. So we've met Dr. Montgomery, who I presume is going to get us into some trouble. Montgomery is going to get us into some trouble. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in my bones. But I'm liking what we have so far. We're very quickly heading up the, very quickly going through, like, the, beginning. So, normally this would be very, if I was writing this would probably be way more slow paced. But this is how I would do it. Like, we have stuff happening in every chapter, but it's not, like, entirely, like 100% a thing. Like, we could, like, honestly, we could have just started out on the island, but we're going through all the events leading, which I'm enjoying. If I were writing this, they wouldn't even have left the first room. It's like we would still be in the diary, we'd still be in the letter, we'd still be in the boat. But yeah, I'm kind of sus of Dr. Montgomery. Kind of a little sus. Not like 100% sus, but I feel like Dr. Montgomery is the one who's going to get us into trouble. But, we're going on to Chapter 3, The Strange Face. Huh, it turned to a Pistolari novel, I don't know. I mean, that would be kind of interesting. That'd be kind of interesting. I know there is a movie adaptation of this. Just Never Leaving the Diary. Technically, I don't think we actually left the diary. This is just a recollection by Edward Prendick. Let me turn up the music just a little. This is just a recollection by Edward Prendick. So I think it still kind of counts a little, but it's not epistolary as, you know, epistolary novels, because Carrie is epistolary. I think The House of Leaves is considered epistolary. No, it's also something else. Trying to remember other epistolaries. I think, there is a book, I think it's called Sleep Over, by H.G. Wells. Not Wells, Bells. That's epistolary, that's about, like, a sleep apocalypse. And it's about the recollections of a whole bunch of people surviving the sleep apocalypse. But, Chapter 3, The Strange Face. We left the cabin and found a man... We left the cabin and found a man at the... Oh my god, this old writing. We left the cabin and found a man at the companion obstructing our way. He was standing on the ladder with his back to us, peering over the combing of the hatchway. He was, I could see, a misshapen man, short, broad, and clumsy, with a crooked back, a hairy neck, and a head sunk between his shoulders. He was dressed in dark blue serge and had particularly hold up. He was dressed in dark blue serge and had ow, I bit my tongue, and had peculiarly thick, coarse black hair. I heard the unseen dogs growl furiously, and forthwith he ducked back, coming into contact with the hand I put out to fend him off from myself. He turned with animal swiftness. In some indefinable way, the black face that flushed upon me shocked me profoundly. It was a singularly deformed one. The facial part projected, forming somewhat dimly suggestive a muzzle, and the huge half-open mouth showed as big white teeth as I had ever seen in a human mouth. His eyes were bloodshot at the edges and scarcely a rim of light around the hazel pupils. There was a curious glow of excitement in his face. Okay, so yeah, we got some racism here, I think. Got a little bit of racism. As you know, a not treat. Confound you, said Montgomery. Why the devil don't you get out of the way? The black-faced man started aside without a word. I went on up the companion, staring at him instinctively as I did so. Montgomery stayed at foot for a moment. You have no business here, you know, he said in a deliberate tone. Your place is forward. The black-faced man cowered. They won't have me, Ford. He spoke slowly, with a queer, hoarse quality in his voice. Won't have you, Ford, said Montgomery in a menacing voice. But I tell you to go. He was on the brink of saying something further, then looked up at me suddenly and followed me up the ladder. I paused halfway through the hatchway, looking back, still astonished beyond measure at the grotesque ugliness of this black-faced creature. I had never beheld such a repulsive and extraordinary face before, and yet, if the contradiction is credible, I experienced at the same time an odd feeling that in some way I had already encountered exactly the features and gestures that now amazed me. Afterwards, it occurred to me that probably I had seen him as I was lifted aboard, yet that scarcely satisfied my suspicion of a previous acquaintance. Yet how one could have set eyes on so singular a face, yet have forgotten the precise occasion, passed my imagination. Montgomery's movement to follow me released my attention, and I turned and looked about me at the flush deck of the little schooner. I was only half prepared by the sounds I heard for what I saw. I certainly never beheld decks. I said deck, chat. I said deck. I never beheld a deck so dirty. It was littered with scraps of carrot, shred of green leaf, and indescribable filth. Fastened by chains to the main mast were a number of grisly staghounds, who now began leaping and barking at me, and by the mizzen, a huge puma was cramped in a little iron cage far too small to even give it turning room. Farther under the starboard bulwark were some big hutches containing a number of rabbits, and a solitary llama was squeezed into a mere box of a cage forward. The dogs were muzzled by leather straps. The only human being on deck was a gaunt and silent sailor at the wheel. The patched and dirty spankers were tense before the wind. And up aloft, the little ship seemed to be carrying every sail she had. The sky was clear, the sun midway down the western sky. Long waves, capped by the breeze with froth, were running with us. We went past the steersman to the taffrail, and saw the water come foaming under the stern and the bubbles go dancing and vanishing in her wake. I turned and surveyed the unsavory length of the ship. "Is this an ocean menagerie?" said I. "Looks like it," said Montgomery. "What are these beasts for? Merchandise? Curios? Does the captain think he's going to sell them somewhere in the South Seas?" "It looks like it, doesn't it?" said Montgomery, and turned towards the wake again. Suddenly we heard a yelp and a volley of furious blasphemy from the companion hatchway, and the deformed man with the black face came up hurriedly. He was immediately followed by a heavy red-haired man in a white cap. At the sight of the former staghounds, who had all tired barking at me by this time, became furiously excited, howling and leaping against their chains. If I knew this was going to be so racist, I was not going to read it. I apologize for everything this book is going to say. The Black hesitated before them, and gave this red-haired man time to come up with him and deliver a tremendous blow. The Black hesitated before them, and this gave the red-haired man time to come up with him and deliver a tremendous blow between the shoulder blades. The poor devil went down like a felled ox, and rolled in the dirt among the fiercely excited dogs. It was lucky for him that they were muzzled. The red-haired man gave a yawp of exultation, and stood staggering, as it seemed to me, in serious danger of either going backwards down the companion hatchway, or forwards upon his victim. I'm not gonna like this book, am I? So soon as the second man had appeared, Montgomery had started forward. "Steady on there," he cried in a tone of remonstrance. Remonstrance? What is these words? What is remonstrance? That's a word. Okay, it is an angry... It is a forceful, reproachful protest. Okay. I mean, that's what I gathered, but I wanted to make sure. Let me just. It kind of looks like Monster, and I kind of like that. That sounds like a... It kind of sounds like a, nice, novel name. Monster. A couple of sailors appeared on the forecastle. The black-faced man, howling in a singular voice, rolled about under the feet of the dogs. No one attempted to help him. The brutes did their best to worry him, butting their muzzles at him. There was a quick dance of their lithe, gray-figured bodies over the clumsy, prostrate figure. The sailors shouted forward, as though it was admirable sport. Montgomery gave an angry exclamation and went striding down the deck, and I followed him. The black-faced man scrambled up and staggered forward, going and leaning over the bulwark by the main shrouds, where he remained, panting and glaring over his shoulder at the dog. The red-haired man laughed a satisfied laugh. "Look here, Captain," said Montgomery, with his lisp a little accentuated, gripping the elbows of the red-haired man. "This won't do." I stood behind Montgomery. The captain came half round and regarded him with the dull, solemn eyes of a drunken man. "What won't do?" he said, and added, looking sleepily into Montgomery's face for a minute, "Blasted sawbones." With a sudden movement, he shook his arms free, and after 2 ineffectual attempts, stuck his freckled fists into his side pockets. "That man's a passenger," said Montgomery. "I advise you to keep your hands off him." "Go to hell," said the captain loudly. He suddenly turned and staggered towards the side. "Do what I like on my own ship," he said. I think Montgomery might have left him then, seeing the brute was drunk, but he only turned a shade paler and followed the captain to the bulwarks. "Look you here, Captain," he said. "That man of mine is not to be ill-treated. He has been hazed ever since he came aboard." For a minute, alcoholic fumes kept the captain speechless. "Blasted sawbones!" was all he considered necessary. I could see that Montgomery had one of those slow, pertinacious tempers that will warm the day after day to a white heat and never again cool to forgiveness. And I saw, too, that this quarrel had been some time growing. "This man's drunk," said I, perhaps officiously. "You'll do no good." Montgomery gave an ugly twist to his dropping lip. "He's always drunk. Do you think that excuses his assaulting his passengers?" "My ship," began the captain, waving his hands unsteadily towards the cages, "was the clean ship. Look at it now. It was certainly anything but clean. Crew," continued the captain, "clean, respectable crew." "You agreed to take the beasts?" "I wish I'd never set eyes on your infernal island. What the devil wants beasts for an island like that, then? Then that man of yours understood he was a man. He's a lunatic. He hadn't no business aft. Do you think the whole damn ship belongs to you?" "Your sailors began to haze the poor devil as soon as he came aboard." "That's just what he is, a devil. An ugly devil. My man can't stand him. I can't stand him. None of us can't stand him, nor you either." Montgomery turned away. "You leave that man alone anyhow," he said, nodding his head as he spoke. But the captain meant to quarrel now. He raised his voice. "If he comes this end of the ship again, I'll cut his insides out, I tell you. Cut out his blasted insides. Who are you to tell me what I'm to do? I tell you I'm captain of the ship, captain and owner. I'm the law here. I tell you, the law and the prophets. I bargained to take a man and his attendant to and from Erica and bring back some animals. I never bargained to carry a mad devil and a silly sawbones. I'll know what you call Montgomery." I saw the latter take a step forward and interposed. "He's drunk," said I. The captain began some abuse even fouler than the last. "Shut up," I said, turning on him sharply, for I had seen danger in Montgomery's white face. With that, I brought the downpour on myself. However, I was glad to avert what was uncommonly near a scuffle, even at the price of the captain's drunken ill will. I do not think I ever heard quite so much vile language come up in a continuous stream from any man's lips before, though I frequently eccentric company enough. I found some of it hard to endure, though I am a mild-tempered man, and certainly when I told the captain to shut up, I had forgotten that I was merely a bit of a human flotsam, cut off from my resources, and with my fare unpaid, a mere casual dependent on the bounty or speculative enterprise of the ship. He reminded me of it with considerable vigor, but at any rate, I prevented a fight. We are such a good person. Edward is such a good person. He's probably gonna regret that. I would have honestly let Montgomery punch him. I would have. But we are building up our characters, it seems. I think we're going to have Montgomery, we're going to have Edward, we're going to have Captain, and we're going to have this character who is being mistreated by the times. We're going to have this character who is being severely mistreated by the times. I'm not sure if what is happening in this book is purposeful. Like, again, like I was mentioning earlier, books can be taken out of context and misconstrued. And what is happening is that he could have written this to be, that it was not racist. But, it's coming off as racist. Like, it could be that the times are different, but it's definitely coming off as racist. To me, anyway. But, so far we're building up on, our characters. We're building up on what is happening. We're taking these islands. I was about to say we are taking these islands to the animals. We are taking wholesale islands. We bought some islands wholesale, and we're going to deliver them to these animals because the animals deserve their own islands. Because let's be real, I want to get away from humans too, and I'm not even an animal. I'm a human. I'm a bat human. I'm a humanoid. I feel these animals wanting their own islands. But we're taking these animals to the island. It kind of sounds like some of them are a little magical, but well, I'm really worried for this beast man, for this devil, for this man who we are treating with incredible racism. But sorry, that's the melon. That's the frozen melon I ate earlier coming back up. But, we will, see how the story continues to go. Chapter 4, at the Schooner's Whale. That night, land was sighted after sundown, and the schooner hove to. Montgomery intimated that was his destination. It was too far to see any details. It seemed to me simply a low-lying patch of dim blue in the uncertain blue-gray sky. An almost vertical streak of smoke went up from it into the sky. The captain was not on deck when it was sighted. After he had vented his wrath on me and staggered below, and I understood he went to sleep on the floor of his own cabin, the mate practically assumed command. He was gaunt, taciturn. He was the gaunt, taciturn individual we had seen at the wheel. Apparently, he was in an evil temper with Montgomery. He took not the slightest notice of either of us. We dined with him in a sulky silence, and after a few ineffectual efforts on my part to talk, it struck me too that the man regarded my companionship and his animals in a singularly unfriendly manner. I found Montgomery very reticent about his purpose with these creatures, and about his destination. And though I was sensible of a growing curiosity as to both, I did not press him. We continued talking on the quarterdeck until the sky was thick with stars. Except for an occasional sound in the yellow-lit forecastle and the movement of the animals now and then, the night was very still. The puma lay crouched together, watching us with shining eyes, a black heap in the corner of its cage. Montgomery produced some cigars. He talked of London in a tone of half-painful reminiscence, asking all kinds of questions about changes that had taken place. He spoke like a man who loved his life there and had been suddenly and irrevocably cut off from it. I gossiped as well as I could of this and that all the time. The strangeness of him was shaping itself in my mind, and as I talked, I peered at his odd, pallid face in the dim light of the barnacle lantern. And as I talked, I peered at his odd, pallid face in the dim light of the binnacle lantern behind me. Then I looked out at the darkling sea, where the dimness in his little island was hidden. This man, it seemed to me, had come out of immensity merely to save my life. Tomorrow he would drop over the side and vanish again out of my existence. Even had it been under commonplace circumstances, it would have made me a trifle thoughtful, but in the first place was the singularity of an educated man living on this little island, and coupled with that extraordinary nature of his luggage. I found myself repeating the captain's question. What did he want with the beasts? Why, too, had he pretended they were not his when I remarked about them at the first? I bet H.G. Wells didn't ever have issues with meeting his work girls. No, he probably didn't. He really seems to enjoy words. Then again, in his personal attendant there was a bizarre quality, which had impressed me profoundly. These circumstances threw a haze of mystery around the man. They laid hold of my imagination and hampered my tongue. Towards the midnight, our talk of London died away, and we stood side by side, leaning over the bulwarks and staring dreamily over the silent starlit sea, each pursuing his own thoughts. It was the atmosphere for sentiment that began upon my gratitude. If I may say it, I said after a time, you saved my life. Chance, he answered, just chance. I prefer to make my thanks to the accessible agent. Thank no one. You had the need and I had the knowledge. And I injected and fed you much as I might have collected a specimen. I was bored and wanted something to do. If I had been jaded that day or hadn't liked your face, well, it's a curious question where you would have been now. That dampened my mood a little. At any rate, I began. It's a chance, I tell you, he interrupted, as everything is in a man's life. Only the asses won't see it. Why am I here now, an outcast from civilization, instead of being a happy man enjoying all the pleasures of London? Simply because 11 years ago, I lost my head for 10 minutes on a Friday night. He stopped. Yes, said I. That's all. We relapsed into silence. Presently he laughed. There's something in this starlight that loosens one's tongue. I'm an ass, and yet somehow I would like to tell you. Whatever you tell me, you may rely on my keeping to myself. Whatever you tell me, you may rely upon my keeping to myself, if that's it. He was on the point of beginning, and then shook his head doubtfully. Don't, said I. It is all the same to me. After all, it is better to keep your secret. There is nothing gained but a little relief if I respect your confidence. If I don't, well... He grunted undecidedly. I felt I had him at a disadvantage. I caught him in the mood of indiscretion. To tell the truth, I was not curious to learn what might have driven a young medical student out of London. I have an imagination. I shrugged my shoulders and turned away. Over the taffrail Over the taffrail leant a silent black figure. Oh, hold on. Over the taffrail leaned a silent black figure, watching the stars. It was Montgomery's strange attendant. It looked over its shoulder quickly with my movement, and then looked away again. May seem a little thing to you, perhaps, but came like a sudden blow to me. The only light near us was a lantern at the rail. The creature's face was turned for one brief instant out of the dimness of the stern towards this illumination, and I saw that the eyes glanced at me, shone with a pale green light. I did not know then that a reddish luminosity, at least not uncommon in human eyes. The thing came to me as a stark inhumanity. That black figure, with its eyes of fire, struck down through all my adult thoughts and feelings. And for a moment, the forgotten horrors of childhood came back to my mind. Then the effect passed as it had come. An uncouth black figure of a man, a figure of no particular import, hung over the taffrail against the starlight, and I found Montgomery was speaking to me. "I'm thinking of turning in then," said he, "if you've had enough of this." I answered him incongruously. We went below, and he wished me good night at the door of my cabin. That night I had some very unpleasant dreams. The reigning moon rose late. Its light struck a ghostly white beam across my cabin, made an ominous shape on the planking of my bunk. Then the staghounds woke, began howling and baying, so I dreamt fitfully, and scarcely slept until the approach of the dawn. Okay, so we're on chapter 5. Stretchies. Yawnies. Stretch to the left. Stretch to the right. Unshrimp. I'm sleepies. I'm a little sleepies. But we're already we're already 5 chapters in. Let me check my music, because I believe we've been on for almost an hour. So I need to make sure my music is, we have 10-ish minutes. 10-ish minutes. And honestly, I'm not really feeling this music. It's a little too hard. It's going a little too much. So we're going to go with this collection, I believe. Okay, yeah. It was too much of a banger. It was banging too much. It was going at too hard. Okay, I'm going to be sad if this is what takes me down on YouTube. Is this okay, never mind. It's not, he's not gonna sue me for streaming this. Okay, good. Okay, so we know it's not an actual... The devil is not an actual black man, he is actually a devil. But I kind of feel like, because they haven't said, oh, his skin is fur or something, it definitely feels like... This is so horrible. I'm not going to be comfortable reading this entire book, am I? No. I mean, it's not... I mean, it's probably not... It's not as bad as some H.P. Lovecraft stories. We're not even going to talk about his cat. But, I definitely feel like we're definitely. There were so many ways they could have worded that, but they went with the worst way to word it. So, we're on chapter 5. Also, we're going to be going for another hour and 30 minutes. We're going to end precisely at 11 tonight. Or at least try to. Depends on where we at. Or if we're around 11, if we're around 10:50 and we finish the story, we're going to just stop it there. But we're going to go to 11, which will probably give us like 5 more chapters, I think. But we're building up our characters. I believe we're building out this as our entire cast. It's going to be Montgomery. It's going to be the crew of the ship. It's going to be us, Edward Prendick. And I'm actually really enjoying the writing style, even though it's very hard on my on how to speak. It's like, I swear, English is my first language. I think it's because it's my first language, I don't really care about being very proper with it. I don't think anyone's very proper with their first language, but they're super proper with their second languages, or try to be. Like, I feel like I hear more perfect English from people whose second language is English. But we're on chapter 5, The Man Who Had Nowhere to Go. In the early morning, it was the second morning after my recovery, and I believe the fourth after I was picked up. I awoke through an avenue of tumultuous dreams of guns and howling mobs, and became sensible of a hoarse shouting above me. I rubbed my eyes and lay listening to the noise, doubtful for a little while of my whereabouts. Then came the sudden pattering of bare feet, the sound of heavy objects being thrown about, and a violent creaking and rattling of the chains. I heard the swish of water as the ship was suddenly brought round, and a foamy yellow-green ray flew across the little round window and left it streaming. I jumped into my clothes and went on deck. As I came up the ladder, I saw against the flushed sky, for the sun was just rising, the broad back and red hair of the captain, and over his shoulder, the puma spinning from a tackle rigged onto the mizzen spanker boom. That's an entire sentence. The poor brute seemed horribly scared, and crouched in the bottom of its little cage. "Overboard with them!" bawled the captain. "Overboard with them! We'll have to clean ship as soon as the whole... We'll have to clean the ship soon of the whole bill and law of them." He stared my way, so I had to perforce to tap his shoulder to come to deck. He came around with a start and staggered back a few paces to stare at me. It needed no expert eye to tell that the man was still drunk. "Hello?" he said stupidly, and then with a light coming into his eyes. "Why, it's Mr. Prendick," said I. "Prendick be damned," said he. "Shut up, that's your name, Mr. Shut Up." It was no good answering the brute, but I certainly did not expect his next move. He held out his hand to the gangway, by which Montgomery stood talking to a massive gray-haired man in dirty blue flannels, who had apparently just come aboard. "That way, Mr. Blasted Shut Up, that way," roared the captain. Montgomery and his companion turned as he spoke. "What do you mean?" I asked. "That way, Mr. Blasted Shut Up, that's what I mean. Overboard, Mr. Shut Up, and sharp. We're cleaning the ship out. clean the whole blessed ship out and overboard you go. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Oh, wait. I lost my place. Hold on. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Then it occurred to me that it was exactly the thing I wanted. The lost prospect of a journey as a sole passenger, this quarrelsome sot was not one to mourn over. I turned towards Montgomery. Can't have you, said Montgomery's companion concisely. You can't have me? Said I, aghast. He had the squarest and most resolute face I ever set eyes upon. Look here, I said, turning to the captain. Overboard, said the captain. This ship ain't fit. This ship ain't for beasts and cannibals and worse than beasts anymore. Overboard you go, Mr. Shut Up. And if they can't have you, overboard you goes, but anyhow you go, with your friends. I've done with this blessed island forevermore, amen. I've had enough of it. He said he was done. But Montgomery, I appealed. He distorted his lower lip and nodded his head hopelessly at the gray-haired man beside him to indicate his palacelessness to help me. I'll see to you presently, said the captain. Then began a curious three-cornered altercation. Alternately, I appealed to one and another of the three men, first to the gray-haired man to let me land, and then to the drunken captain to keep me aboard. I even bawled entreaties to the sailors. Montgomery never said a word, only shook his head. And you're going overboard, I tell you, was the captain's refrain. Law be damned, I'm king here. At last, I must confess my voice suddenly broke in the middle of a vigorous fit. I felt a gust of hysterical petulance, and went aft and stared dismally at nothing. Meanwhile, the sailors progressed rapidly with the task of unshipping the packages and caged animals. A large launch with two standing lugs lay under the lee of the schooner. Oh my god, this book heavily relies on you knowing exactly how a ship works and lurks. La 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 looks. And I can tell you right now, I cannot imagine a ship worth my life. Not this ship, at least. And into the strange assortment of goods were swung. I did not then see the hands. I did not then. Oh, I have problems here. I did not then see the hands from the island that were receiving the packages, for the whole of the launch was hidden from me by the side of the schooner. Neither Montgomery nor his companions took the slightest notice of me, but busied themselves in assisting and directing the 4 or 5 sailors who were unloading the goods. The captain went forward, interfering rather than assisting. I was alternately despairful and desperate. Once or twice, as I stood waiting there for things to accomplish themselves, I could not resist an impulse to laugh at my miserable quandary. I felt all the wretcheder for the lack of a breakfast. Hunger and a lack of blood corpuscles take all the manhood from a man. I perceived pretty clearly that I had not the stamina to either resist what the captain chose to do to expel me, or to force myself upon Montgomery and his companion. So I waited passively upon fate in the work of transferring Montgomery's possessions to the launch right on, as if I did not exist. Oh, poor Eddie. Presently that work was finished, and then came to a struggle. I was hauled, resisting weakly enough, to the gangway. Even then I noticed the oddness of the brown faces of men who were with Montgomery in the launch. But the launch was now fully laden, and was shoved off hastily. A blinding gap of green water appeared under me, and I pushed back with all my strength to avoid falling headlong. The hands in the launch shouted derisively, and I heard Montgomery curse at them, and then the captain, the mate, and one of the seamen helping him ran me aft towards the stern. The dinghy of the Lady Vane had been towing behind. It was half full of water, had no oars, and was quite unvictualled. I refused to go aboard her and flung myself full length upon the deck. In the end, they swung me into her by a rope, for they had no stern ladder. And then they cut me adrift. I drifted slowly from the schooner in kind of a stupor. I watched all hands take to the rigging, and slowly but surely she came round to the wind. The sails fluttered, and then bellied out as the wind came into them. I stared at her weather-beaten side, heeling steeply towards me, and then she passed out my range of view. I did not turn my head to follow her. At least, at first... hold up. My lips are dry. At first, I could scarcely believe what had happened. I crouched in the bottom of the dinghy, stunned and staring blankly at the vacant, oily sea. Then I realized that I was in that little hell of mine again, now half swamped. Looking back over the gunwale, I saw the schooner staying away from me, with the red-haired captain mocking me over the taffrail, and turning towards the island, saw the launch growing smaller as she approached the beach. Abruptly, the cruelty of this desertion became clear to me. I had no means of reaching the lands unless I should chance to drift there. I was still weak, you must remember, from my exposure in the boat. I was empty and very faint. Or should I had more heart? But as it was, I suddenly began to sob and weep, as I never had done since I was a little child. The tears ran down my face. In a passion of despair, I struck my fist at the water in the bottom of the boat, and kicked savagely at the gunwale. I prayed aloud for God to let me die. Okay. So we're back in this stupid little ship, because the captain is stupid. Montgomery is not very nice. I can't believe I liked Montgomery there for just a second. But, okay, we're back. Okay. Little spoilers, the people on the island seem to have taken him in. First line of chapter 6. I can't believe I liked you for a second, right, chat? Oh my god. I can't believe I liked you. I can't believe I enjoyed you. Me when the character I enjoy finally turns into a horrible monster. But, things are going badly for Edward. So horrible. I enjoyed your POV for a second there. How dare you? Right? Oh my god. Okay, so... on to chapter 6. So, we're taking a bit to get to this flipping island. Again, we could have started on the island. Though, I get the idea that they're trying to build up the strangeness with the beasts, with the devil dude, with Dr. Montgomery, who has a secretive past. So, we're kind of getting some foreshadowing. Okay. The evil-looking boatman. Please don't be more racism. Please don't be more racism. But the islander, seeing that I was really adrift, took pity on me. I drifted slowly to the eastward, approaching the island slantingly. Presently I saw, with hysterical relief, the launch come round and return towards me. She was heavily laden, and I could make out as she drew near Montgomery's white-haired, broad-shouldered companion, sitting cramped with the dogs and several packing cases in the stern sheets. This individual stared fixedly at me without moving or speaking. The black-faced cripple was glaring at me fixedly in the bows near the Puma. There were 3 other men besides, 3 strange, brutish-looking fellows at whom the staghounds were snarling savagely. Montgomery, who was steering, while the boat by me, and rising, caught and fastened my painter to the tiller to tow me, for there was no room aboard. I had recovered from my hysterical phase by this time, and answered his hail as he approached, bravely enough. I told him the dinghy was nearly swamped, and he reached me a piggin. I was jerked back as the tow rope tightened between the boats. For some time I was busy bailing. Bailing. It was not until I got the water under, for the water in the dinghy had been shipped. The boat was perfectly sound. I had leisure to look at the people in the launch again. The white-haired man I found was still regarding me steadfastly, but with an expression, as I now fancied, of some perplexity. When my eyes met his, he looked down at the staghound that sat between his knees. He was a powerfully built man, as I said, with a fine forehead and rather heavy features, but his eyes had that odd drooping of the skin above the lids which often comes with advancing years, and the fall of his heavy mouth at the corners gave him an expression of pugnacious resolution. He talked to Montgomery in a tone too low for me to hear. From him my eyes traveled to 3 men, and a strange crew they were. I saw only their faces, yet there was something in their faces, I knew not what, that gave me a queer spasm of disgust. I looked steadily at them, and the expression did not pass, though I failed to see what had occasioned it. They seemed to me then to be brown men, but their limbs were always swathed in some thin, dirty white stuff down even to the fingers and feet. I had never seen men so wrapped up before, and women only in the East. They wore turbans too, and thereunder peered out their elfin faces at me, faces with protruding lower jaws and bright eyes. They had lank black hair and almost like horse hair, and seemed as they sat to exceed stature and race of any man I had seen. The white-haired man, who I knew was a good 6 feet in height, sat a head below any one of the 3. I found afterwards that really none were taller than myself, but their bodies were abnormally long, and the thigh part of the leg short and curiously twisted. At any rate, they were an amazingly ugly gang. Over the heads of them, under the forward lug, peered the black face of the man whose eyes were luminous in the dark. As I stared at them, they met my gaze, and then the first one, and then another, turned away from my direct stare, and they looked at me in an odd, furtive manner. It occurred to me I was perhaps ignoring them, and I turned my attention to the island we were approaching. Okay, so we're back to Montgomery being actually enjoyable. Just a little, but I'm still sus. I'm still not, sure of him. It was low and covered with thick vegetation, chiefly a kind of palm that was also, let me go back low. I'm feeling the racism is back. We're dealing with this. We're just dealing with this in this book. It's a product of the time. It was low and covered with thick vegetation, chiefly a kind of palm. That was new to me. From one point, a thin, white thread of vapor rose slantingly to an immense height, then frayed out like a down feather. We were now within the embrace of a broad bay, flanked on either hand by a low promontory. The beach was of dull gray sand and sloped steeply up to a ridge, perhaps 60 or 70 feet above sea level, and irregularly set with trees and undergrowth. Halfway up was a square enclosure of some grayish stone, which I found subsequently was built partly of coral and partly of pumiceous lava. Two thatched roofs peeped from within this enclosure. A man stood awaiting us at water's edge. I fancy while we were still far off that I saw some other very grotesque-looking creatures scuttle up to the bushes upon the slope, but I saw nothing of these as we drew nearer. This man is moderate size, and with a black, I don't want to say this word. It's not the word, but I hate it. Okay, first off, I do not condone. I'm not sure if this is a word I can say or not. Honestly. Hold up, let me find my mic, cause I need to add a filter for just 1 second. I just need to add a noise filter. A noise gate? What's a noise gate? Let's look at that. This might do. This might do me. Hold up. This might do me. Okay, so I'm going to put the down around. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, okay, it's better, it's better, it's better. So what happened is I tried to add a noise gate. I tried to add a noise gate because I'm currently sharing I share my little streaming room, and my roommate has decided to sleep. So I'm probably going to end as soon as I finish this chapter, but it's okay, it's okay. We got through a lot, but I'm afraid of his snoring. I'm afraid of the snoring being heard on a stream. Let me use a noise filter instead of a noise gate. Noise suppression. Okay, close. Close. There we go, there we go. I think it's just my voice now. It's just my voice now, I think. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. Like, just my talking. But I have discovered that the word I was about to use is offensive and dated. Though, in terms of story, it may have been okay, but with what's currently happening in the VTuber sphere, I don't want people to go back and clip that out of context. And even though I would have actual proof, it would just been me reading this novel. So, what we're gonna do, what I'm gonna say is African, because that's just the best term I can use in replacement. This man was of a moderate size, with a black African face. He had a large, almost lipless mouth, extraordinary lank arms, long, thin feet, and bow legs, and stood with his heavy face thrust forward, staring at us. He was dressed like Montgomery, and his white-haired companion, in jacket and trousers of blue serge. As we came still nearer, this individual began to run to and fro on the beach, making the most grotesque movements. At a word of command from Montgomery, the four men in the launch sprang up, and with singularly awkward gestures struck at the lugs, Montgomery steered us round into a narrow dock excavated in the beach. Then the man on the beach hastened towards us. This dock, as I call it, was really a mere ditch, just long enough at this phase of the tide to take the longboat. I had the bows ground in the sand, staved the dinghy off the rudder of the big boat with my pig in, and freeing the painter, landed. The three muffled men, with clumsiest movements, scrambled out upon the sand, and forthwith set to landing the cargo, assisted by the men on the beach. I was struck especially by the curious movements of the legs of the three swathed and bandaged boatmen. Not stiff they were, but distorted in some odd way, almost as if they were jointed in the wrong place. The dogs were still snarling and straining at their chains after these men, as the white-haired man landed with them. The three big fellows spoke to one another in odd guttural tones, and the man who waited for us on the beach began chattering to them excitedly, a foreign language as I fancied, as they laid hands on some bales piled near the stern. Somewhere I heard such a voice before, I cannot think where. The white-haired man stood, holding a tumult of 6 dogs, and bawling orders over their den. Montgomery, having unshipped the rudder, landed likewise, and all set to work at unloading. I was too faint, or with my long fast and the sun beating down on my bare head, to offer any assistance. Presently, the white-haired man seemed to recollect my presence, and came up to me. You look, said he, as though you scarcely had breakfasted. His little eyes were brilliant black under his heavy brows. I must apologize for that. Now you are a guest. We must make you comfortable. Though you are uninvited, you know. He looked keenly into my face. Montgomery says you are an educated man, Mr. Prendick. That you know something of science. May I ask what that signifies? I told him that I spent some time at the Royal College of Science, and had done some researches in biology under Huxley. He raised his eyebrows slightly at that. That alters the case a little. Mr. Prendick, he said, with a trifle more respect in his manner. As it happens, we are biologists here. This is a biological station of a sort. His eye rested on the men in white who were busily hauling the puma on rollers towards the wall yard. And I, Montgomery at least, he added. Then, when you will be able to get away, I can't say. We're off the track to anywhere. We see a ship once in a 12-month or so. He left me abruptly. I went up the beach past this group, and I think entered the enclosure. The other two men were with Montgomery, erecting a pile of smaller packages on a low-wheel truck. The llama was still on the launch with the rabbit hutches. The staghounds were still lashed to the thwarts. The pile of things completed, all three men were laid hold of the truck and began shoving the ton weight or so upon after the puma. Presently, Montgomery left them, and coming back to me, he held out his hand. I'm glad, said he. For my own part, that captain was a silly ass. You have made things lively for you. It was you, said I, that saved me again. That depends. You'll find this island an infernally rum place, I promise you. I watch my goings carefully if I were you. He hesitated and seemed to alter his mind about what was on his lips. I wish you'd help me with these rabbits, he said. His procedure with the rabbits was singular. I waded in with him and helped him lug one of the hutches ashore. No sooner was that done, he opened the door of it, and tilting the thing on one end, turned its living contents out on the ground. They fell in a struggling heap, one on top of the other, clapped his hands, and forthwith they went off with that hopping run of theirs. 15 or 20 of them, I should think, up the beach. Increase and multiply, my friends, said Montgomery. Replenish the island. Hitherto, we've had a certain lack of meat here. As I watched them disappearing, the white-haired man returned with a brandy flask and some biscuits. Something to go on with, Prendick, said he, in a far more familiar tone than before. I made no ado, but set to work on the biscuits at once. And while the white-haired man helped Montgomery release about a score more of the rabbits, 3 big hutches, however, went up to the house with the puma. Brandy I did not touch, for I had been an abstainer from my birth. Okay, so we are on chapter 7. And I think that is a nice place to leave off. Even though I could keep reading more with my noise thing on, whatever. With my noise suppression on. I could continue reading, but I don't want to. I swear I have the worst setup of any streamer in the world, though. That's probably wrong. It's probably wrong in some way. But, yet. I do not want to continue streaming if I might accidentally wake up someone or be a bother. So, what we're going to do is we're going to stop at chapter 7. Because it's a nice way to stop, and we can probably continue with another 7 chapters next time we read. And it'll be just like a nice little bedtime read for bed for everyone, or a nice chill stream for everyone. But I don't mind doing a nice little short stream because I've been doing some nice long streams. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me for this little moment, this little collective of time. And with this noise suppression on, I don't know how to make my I don't know what level my music should be at. But thank y'all for joining me for this little moment of fate. I hope you have a good night. May your exit from the sacred void be safe and blessed. And may you find something good tomorrow. I will see you all on Thursday. If I do not gorilla before then, I don't think I will. On Thursday, we will be watching some analog horror. And we are going to go raid someone. We're going to go raid someone. Who shall we raid? Who shall we raid? I think... I think with the racism of that flipping book, I should go raid someone to make up for it. My god, I almost said that. I said it was not the word, but it's dated for a reason. Okay, so who we got? We got... Okay, oh man, we got so many people. We'll go raid Kage. We'll go raid Kage. Wait, let me make sure. Yeah, it's just Kage. I'm always afraid of, like, raiding someone who has, like, such a short name that I'm about to mistake it for something else. But thank you all for joining me. Hope you all have a good night. And see you soon. Good fate.